There comes a moment in life when you stop asking one painful question: why do people keep disrespecting me? And you begin asking a far more powerful one: what kind of person do I need to become so that disrespect no longer finds a place in my life? The answer is not found in anger. It is not found in intimidation, revenge, or trying to appear stronger than everyone around you. Those methods create temporary fear, but they never create lasting respect. Real strength is quieter. It is built from self-discipline, emotional control, unwavering boundaries, and deep self-respect. Every person teaches others how to treat them, not only through their words, but through what they consistently allow. If you constantly sacrifice your values to keep people comfortable, some will mistake your kindness for weakness. If you fear saying no, people may continue asking for more than they should. If you remain silent when your dignity is repeatedly ignored, you silently communicate that your boundaries can be crossed without consequence. But the moment you begin respecting yourself, everything starts to change. Your posture changes. Your decisions become clearer. Your presence becomes calmer. You no longer chase approval because you understand that your worth is not determined by another person's opinion. Instead of trying to control others, you learn to master yourself, and that is where true power begins. This journey is not about making people afraid of your anger. It is about becoming someone whose character, confidence, and consistency naturally discourage disrespect. It is about creating a life where your standards are so clear that those who cannot respect them simply lose the privilege of your time and attention. In this speech, you will discover practical principles for building inner strength, protecting your peace, and developing the kind of quiet confidence that commands respect without demanding it. Because the strongest person in any room is rarely the loudest. It is the one who has mastered themselves. And once you master yourself, the world begins to treat you differently. Many people spend years searching for ways to earn respect from others. They study confidence, communication, body language, and influence, hoping that one day people will finally recognize their worth. Yet they often overlook the most important truth. The respect you receive from the world is deeply connected to the respect you have for yourself. Before anyone else decides how to treat you, you have already shown them what you believe you deserve. Every action you take sends a message. Every decision, every response, every compromise quietly tells others something about your standards. If you constantly ignore your own needs to satisfy everyone else, people begin to believe your time has little value. If you remain silent while your dignity is repeatedly challenged, some may assume that such behavior is acceptable, not because they are always malicious, but because human beings naturally learn from patterns. Whatever is repeatedly accepted often becomes expected. This is why self-respect is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. It is not pride. It is not arrogance. It is not believing you are better than someone else. Self-respect is the quiet understanding that your dignity is valuable and should never be traded for temporary approval. It is choosing principles over popularity and peace over pleasing everyone. Many people confuse kindness with self-sacrifice. They believe being a good person means always saying yes, always agreeing, always making themselves available, and always putting others first. While kindness is a beautiful quality, kindness without boundaries eventually becomes self-neglect. A person who never protects their own well-being slowly teaches others that their needs can always come last. Imagine a garden without a fence. No matter how beautiful the flowers are, anyone can walk through it without thinking. Over time, the flowers become damaged, not because they lack beauty, but because they lack protection. Your life is no different. Your values, your peace, your energy, and your time are precious. Without healthy boundaries, even the kindest heart can become exhausted. Self-respect begins with the smallest daily choices. It begins when you keep the promises you make to yourself. If you tell yourself you will wake up early, then do it. If you decide to improve your health, honor that commitment. If you know a relationship constantly drains your peace, have the courage to step away. Every time you follow through on your own decisions, you strengthen your trust in yourself. This inner trust changes the way you carry yourself. You stop looking around for permission before making decisions. You stop seeking constant validation because you already know your values. Your confidence becomes steady rather than dependent on compliments or praise. People often believe confidence comes from success, wealth, or status. Those things may attract attention, but they cannot create lasting confidence. Real confidence comes from integrity. It comes from knowing that your actions match your beliefs. A person who lives with integrity walks differently because there is no need to pretend, there is no mask to protect, there is only authenticity. Consider how mountains stand through every season. They do not chase admiration, they do not argue with the wind. They remain rooted because their strength comes from within. Your character should become like that mountain. Let criticism come and go. Let opinions rise and fall. Stay grounded in your principles rather than in other people's approval. Another important lesson is learning that not everyone deserves unlimited access to your life. Some people encourage your growth, while others repeatedly test your patience, your confidence, and your peace. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Respect does not require you to tolerate disrespect. Compassion does not require you to accept mistreatment. Forgiveness does not require you to remain where your dignity is consistently ignored. There will be moments when protecting your self-respect feels uncomfortable. You may disappoint people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. You may lose relationships that were built on your willingness to always give more than you received. That loss may feel painful at first, but remember this: losing unhealthy connections is often the first step toward gaining a healthier life. As your self-respect grows, something remarkable begins to happen. You speak less but with greater purpose. You no longer explain every decision because you understand that your life is not a courtroom where every choice requires a defense. You become more selective with your time, your attention, and your energy. Instead of chasing people who fail to value you, you invest in becoming the best version of yourself. This transformation is subtle but powerful. Others begin to notice that you no longer tolerate behavior that once disturbed your peace. They realize you are calm yet firm, kind yet impossible to manipulate, compassionate yet unwilling to abandon your principles. That quiet consistency earns more respect than anger ever could. Always remember that your greatest responsibility is not convincing others to value you. Your greatest responsibility is valuing yourself so deeply that you never willingly trade your dignity for acceptance. When you build that foundation within, the world gradually responds differently. Some people will rise to meet your standards, while others will walk away because they can no longer benefit from your silence or your self-doubt. Either outcome is a victory, because the moment you truly respect yourself, you stop living to be accepted by everyone. You begin living in alignment with your values, your purpose, and your inner strength. And when that happens, respect is no longer something you chase. It becomes something your character naturally inspires. Many people believe strength is measured by how loudly they can speak, how quickly they can respond, or how fiercely they can defend themselves. They think that if someone insults them, they must answer immediately. If someone challenges them, they must prove they are right. If someone disrespects them, they must react with equal force. But this way of thinking gives away something incredibly valuable: control. The moment another person's words dictate your emotions, they begin controlling your actions. Real strength begins when you refuse to hand that control to anyone else. Imagine a lake on a calm morning. When the surface is still, it reflects everything with perfect clarity. But when stones are thrown into it, the water becomes disturbed and the reflection disappears. Your mind works the same way. Every insult, criticism, or act of disrespect is like a stone thrown into your thoughts. If you react to every stone, your mind becomes restless, your judgment becomes clouded, and your peace disappears. But if you learn to let the ripples settle before responding, you regain clarity. From that clarity comes wisdom, and from wisdom comes true strength. Most people do not expect calmness, they expect reactions. They expect arguments, emotional outbursts, defensive explanations, or endless attempts to prove a point. That is because emotional reactions are common. Emotional discipline is rare. When you remain composed in situations where others lose control, you immediately separate yourself from the crowd. Your silence becomes more powerful than unnecessary words because it shows that your emotions belong to you, not to the opinions of others. This does not mean ignoring every problem or pretending that disrespect does not exist. Emotional control is not emotional suppression. It is the ability to choose your response instead of allowing your emotions to choose it for you. There will be moments when speaking is necessary. There will be moments when walking away is the wiser decision. There will be moments when firm boundaries must be established. The difference is that your actions come from clear thinking rather than temporary anger. Consider how many conflicts begin because people react before they think. One careless comment turns into an argument. The argument becomes resentment. The resentment damages relationships, careers, and opportunities that took years to build, all because someone allowed a few seconds of emotion to control decisions with long term consequences. A disciplined person understands that not every situation deserves an immediate response. Sometimes the strongest answer is patience. Patience is often misunderstood as weakness, but patience is controlled power. Anyone can explode when provoked. It takes maturity to remain steady while emotions rise. The strongest tree during a storm is not the one that fights every gust of wind. It is the one whose roots remain deep enough to withstand the pressure. Your values are those roots. When they are strong, outside circumstances cannot easily shake you. Notice the people who naturally command respect wherever they go. They rarely speak more than necessary. They listen carefully. They observe before acting. They do not rush to defend themselves against every opinion because they know that truth does not require constant justification. Their confidence comes from within, not from winning every conversation. This quiet confidence creates a presence that others instinctively recognize. Emotional control also protects your energy. Every unnecessary argument drains your focus. Every attempt to convince someone who refuses to understand steals time that could have been invested in your goals, your health, your family, or your personal growth. Life offers only a limited amount of energy each day. Wise people guard it carefully. They choose where to invest their attention because they understand that attention is one of their greatest resources. There will always be individuals who criticize you, misunderstand your intentions, or attempt to provoke you simply to see your reaction. If you respond every time, you become trapped in a cycle where your peace depends on their behavior. But when you stop reacting impulsively, you quietly break that cycle. Suddenly, their words lose their power because you no longer give them permission to influence your inner state. Learning this skill requires daily practice. It begins in small moments. When frustration appears, pause before speaking. When criticism arrives, listen before defending yourself. When anger rises, breathe before acting. These simple habits may seem insignificant, but repeated consistently, they reshape your character. Over time, you become someone who cannot easily be manipulated because your decisions are guided by principles rather than impulses. People often assume that calm individuals are unaware of what is happening around them. In reality, they usually notice more than everyone else. They simply choose not to react to everything they notice. They understand that every battle carries a cost, and not every battle is worth fighting. This wisdom allows them to preserve both their dignity and their peace. As your emotional discipline grows, something remarkable begins to happen. Others become more careful with their words and actions around you, not because they fear an angry outburst, but because they recognize that you cannot be easily influenced, provoked, or controlled. They understand that your confidence is rooted in self mastery rather than ego. And there is no greater strength than a person who remains calm under pressure, thinks clearly in moments of conflict, and protects their peace without abandoning their principles. That kind of quiet strength cannot be imitated, purchased, or taken away. It is earned through consistent self discipline, and once developed, it becomes one of the most powerful forms of respect a person can possess. Respect begins long before another person speaks to you. It begins with the invisible lines you draw around your values, your time, your peace, and your dignity. These lines are called boundaries, and they determine the quality of every relationship you will ever have. Many people believe that boundaries push others away, but the opposite is true. Healthy boundaries attract healthy relationships while exposing unhealthy ones. They teach people how to treat you without the need for constant arguments or explanations. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing they must earn respect by saying yes to everything. They fear disappointing others, so they agree to requests they do not want to fulfill. They tolerate jokes that make them uncomfortable. They remain silent when someone repeatedly crosses the line. At first, it seems like kindness, but over time, it becomes self-neglect. Every moment you ignore your own limits, you quietly send a message that your comfort matters less than someone else's convenience. People often continue behavior that is never challenged. This is not always because they are cruel. Sometimes they simply assume that if you never object, then everything is acceptable. This is why waiting for others to guess your limits rarely works. Your actions must communicate what your words cannot. Strength is not measured by how loudly you defend yourself. It is measured by how consistently you protect your values. You do not need to become aggressive or confrontational every time someone disappoints you. Instead, you become clear, calm, and unwavering. You learn to say no without guilt. You refuse invitations that conflict with your priorities. You leave conversations that become disrespectful. You distance yourself from people who repeatedly ignore your dignity. This kind of behavior surprises many people because they expect emotional reactions. They expect shouting, arguing, or endless explanations. Instead, they are met with calm certainty. There is something deeply powerful about a person who does not need to raise their voice to protect themselves. Calmness communicates confidence. It tells others that your decisions are not driven by emotion but by principle. Many individuals waste years trying to change difficult people. They believe that if they explain themselves one more time, everything will improve. They hope that endless patience will eventually transform disrespect into appreciation. While patience is a beautiful quality, patience without boundaries becomes permission. If someone repeatedly ignores your feelings after being treated with honesty and respect, the problem is no longer a lack of communication. The problem is a lack of accountability. Remember this carefully. Every relationship is built on repeated patterns. If someone repeatedly lies, ignores your needs, insults your character, or takes advantage of your kindness, those actions become the pattern. Hoping they will suddenly become different without changing their behavior often leads to disappointment. Wise people pay attention to consistent actions rather than temporary apologies. Protecting your boundaries also requires courage because not everyone will welcome the new version of you. Some people benefited from your inability to say no. They enjoyed unlimited access to your time, your energy, and your attention. The moment you begin setting healthy limits, they may accuse you of changing. In truth, you are changing, but not for the worse. You are becoming someone who values themselves enough to stop sacrificing their peace for temporary approval. Growth often feels uncomfortable because it challenges old habits. You may feel guilty the first few times you refuse unreasonable requests. You may question whether you are being selfish. But there is a profound difference between selfishness and self-respect. Selfishness ignores the needs of everyone else. Self-respect refuses to ignore your own. Healthy boundaries allow generosity to come from abundance instead of exhaustion. When your own mind is peaceful, you have more patience to help others. When your energy is constantly drained by people who disrespect you, even small acts of kindness begin to feel heavy. Protecting yourself is not an act against others. It is an investment in becoming your best self. Another important lesson is that boundaries do not require lengthy explanations. Many people feel pressured to justify every decision they make. They believe everyone must understand their reasons before they can say no. Yet the more you over-explain, the more opportunities others have to argue with your decision. A simple, respectful response is often enough. Clarity is stronger than endless justification. There will always be people who dislike your boundaries because boundaries remove their ability to control you. Do not measure the value of your decisions by how comfortable they make everyone else. Measure them by whether they align with your principles and protect your integrity. Respect cannot exist where integrity is constantly sacrificed. Sometimes the strongest boundary is distance. Not every conflict needs another conversation. Not every disagreement deserves another chance. When someone repeatedly chooses disrespect despite your honesty and patience, walking away may become the healthiest decision available. Distance is not revenge. It is wisdom. It allows you to preserve your peace instead of constantly defending it. As your boundaries become stronger, something remarkable begins to happen. You become calmer. You stop fearing rejection because you no longer define your worth through acceptance. You stop chasing relationships that require you to betray yourself. Instead, you naturally attract people who appreciate honesty, maturity, and mutual respect. In the end, boundaries are not walls built to keep the world out. They are doors with locks, allowing the right people to enter while preventing those who repeatedly dishonor your values from remaining in your life. When your standards become consistent, your presence changes. Others recognize that your kindness is genuine, but they also understand it should never be mistaken for weakness. That quiet certainty is what teaches people to respect you, not because they fear your anger, but because they recognize that your self-respect is firm, your character is steady, and your dignity is never available for negotiation. Many people think confidence is something you are born with. They believe some individuals naturally walk into a room with authority, while others are destined to remain unnoticed. But confidence is not a gift reserved for a fortunate few. It is a skill, and like every meaningful skill, it is built through repetition, discipline, and countless small decisions that most people never see. The confidence that truly earns respect is not loud. It does not seek attention or approval. It does not need to announce itself. Instead, it quietly grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. Every time you wake up when your alarm rings instead of pressing snooze. Every time you complete a difficult task instead of making excuses. Every time you choose honesty over convenience, discipline over comfort, and growth over temporary pleasure, you strengthen something far more valuable than your reputation. You strengthen your character. People often ask why some individuals naturally command respect without saying much. The answer is hidden in what they do when no one is watching. Their confidence is not built on compliments. It is built on evidence. Every disciplined action becomes proof that they can trust themselves. When you repeatedly prove to yourself that your words match your actions, your mind stops questioning your abilities. That inner certainty becomes visible to everyone around you. Think about a mountain. It does not become magnificent overnight. It stands firm because it has endured years of storms, wind, heat, and cold without abandoning its foundation. Your confidence grows in exactly the same way. Every challenge you overcome adds another layer of strength. Every obstacle you face instead of avoiding becomes another stone supporting the foundation of your self-belief. Unfortunately, many people search for confidence in the wrong places. They hope that expensive clothes, luxury possessions, social media followers, or constant praise will make them feel powerful. These things may create the appearance of confidence, but appearances disappear quickly. The moment criticism arrives or circumstances change, borrowed confidence collapses because it was never built from within. True confidence begins when you stop depending on external validation. It begins when your opinion of yourself matters more than the temporary opinions of strangers. This does not mean ignoring feedback or believing you are always right. It means understanding that your value does not rise because someone praises you, nor does it fall because someone criticizes you. Discipline protects you from becoming emotionally dependent on approval. Instead of asking, "Do people believe in me?" you begin asking, "Have I remained faithful to my own principles today?" That question changes everything. Imagine two people preparing for an important challenge. One spends all their energy worrying about what others think. The other quietly prepares, practices, studies, and improves every day. When the moment arrives, who will remain calm? The answer is obvious. Preparation creates confidence. Discipline removes uncertainty because it replaces fear with experience. This is why your daily habits matter more than occasional bursts of motivation. Motivation feels exciting, but it comes and goes. Discipline stays even when excitement disappears. Some mornings you will feel inspired. Other mornings you will feel tired, distracted, or discouraged. Those are the moments that define your future. Anyone can work when they feel motivated. Strong people continue working when motivation has left the room. Each disciplined action sends a powerful message to your subconscious mind. I am someone who follows through. Over weeks, months, and years, that message becomes your identity. Once discipline becomes part of your identity, confidence no longer needs to be forced. It naturally follows. People also respect consistency because consistency is rare. Many individuals speak confidently about their dreams, but abandon them at the first sign of difficulty. Others constantly make promises they never intend to keep. Eventually, their words lose value because their actions fail to support them. Become different. Let your actions become stronger than your promises. When you say you will arrive on time, arrive on time. When you commit to learning, continue learning. When you decide to improve your health, remain consistent even when no one is encouraging you. Small acts of discipline appear insignificant in the moment, but together they transform your entire life. The person who reads a few pages every day eventually gains knowledge that others never acquire. The person who exercises consistently develops strength that cannot be achieved through occasional effort. The person who practices emotional control every day becomes calm in situations where others lose themselves. This transformation is gradual, and that is why many people quit too early. They expect dramatic changes within days, but real confidence grows quietly beneath the surface. Like a tree extending its roots before its branches reach the sky, your inner strength develops long before the world notices it. There will be moments when people misunderstand your discipline. Some may call you distant because you no longer participate in meaningless drama. Others may think you have changed because you refuse to tolerate disrespect. In reality, you are not becoming colder. You are becoming clearer about what deserves your energy. Do not allow temporary loneliness to pull you back toward unhealthy habits simply because they feel familiar. Growth often requires leaving behind environments where your potential was never appreciated. The discipline to walk away from negativity is just as important as the discipline to pursue your goals. Remember that every disciplined decision is an investment in the person you are becoming. Every challenge you overcome increases your resilience. Every promise you keep strengthens your integrity. Every day you choose progress over excuses. You become someone whose confidence is rooted in action rather than appearance. Eventually, people will notice something different about you. They may not be able to explain it, but they will sense it. They will recognize a calmness that cannot be shaken by criticism, a presence that does not seek validation, and a strength that does not need to prove itself. That quiet confidence is the reward of discipline. And when your confidence is built through consistent action, unwavering integrity, and daily self mastery, people naturally think twice before treating you with disrespect. Not because you demand respect, but because your character has already earned it. One of the greatest misunderstandings about strength is the belief that you must defeat everyone who disrespects you. Many people think power is measured by how loudly they argue, how cleverly they insult someone back, or how successfully they get revenge. But if you observe truly strong individuals, you will notice something very different. They rarely waste their energy proving themselves. They understand that every battle has a cost, and not every battle is worth paying for. Sometimes the greatest victory is not standing your ground in a meaningless conflict. It is knowing when to leave it behind. Walking away is often seen as weakness because society celebrates confrontation. Movies glorify revenge. Social media rewards dramatic arguments. Pride tells you that you must always have the last word. But real life teaches a different lesson. Every unnecessary argument steals your peace, your focus, and your time. Every attempt to convince someone who has already decided not to respect you drains energy that could have been invested in building a better future. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack every day. At first, the weight seems manageable. Then someone places another stone inside it, then another. Eventually, walking becomes exhausting. That backpack is like unresolved resentment. Every insult you refuse to release becomes another stone. Every act of revenge you imagine adds even more weight. You may believe you are hurting the other person by holding on to anger, but in reality, you are the one carrying the burden. The strongest people understand that peace is more valuable than pride. They refuse to let another person's behavior dictate the quality of their life. They recognize that someone else's disrespect is often a reflection of that person's character, not their own worth. Instead of becoming consumed by bitterness, they make a conscious decision to protect their inner world. This does not mean you should tolerate disrespect. It means you respond wisely instead of emotionally. There is a difference between accepting poor treatment and refusing to let it control you. If someone repeatedly ignores your boundaries, lies to you, manipulates you, or belittles your value, the answer is not endless arguments. The answer is distance. Distance is a language that requires no shouting. When you quietly remove yourself from environments that continually damage your dignity, you send a message far more powerful than any angry speech could ever deliver. You demonstrate that access to your life is earned through mutual respect, not demanded through familiarity or convenience. Many people remain trapped in unhealthy relationships because they fear losing others. They believe that loneliness is worse than disrespect. But staying where your value is constantly questioned slowly destroys your confidence. Every day spent in an unhealthy environment teaches your mind that this treatment is normal. Over time, you begin accepting less than you deserve, simply because you have forgotten what healthy respect feels like. Remember this truth. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your time, your attention, or your heart. Some people enter your life to support your growth. Others enter your life to teach you the importance of boundaries. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Walking away also requires courage because it often means leaving behind familiarity. It may involve ending friendships that no longer align with your values. It may mean distancing yourself from people who only contact you when they need something. It may even require saying goodbye to opportunities that demand you sacrifice your integrity. These choices are never easy, but they are necessary if you want lasting peace. There will always be people who misunderstand your decision. Some may call you cold, others may accuse you of changing. Let them think what they wish. Growth often looks like distance to those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. You do not owe endless explanations for protecting your peace. A simple decision, consistently maintained, speaks louder than repeated justifications. Another important lesson is learning to let go without carrying hatred. Walking away is not about making someone regret losing you. It is not about secretly hoping they suffer. Those desires keep you emotionally connected to the very situation you are trying to escape. Freedom begins when your focus shifts away from changing others and returns to improving yourself. Imagine planting a tree. Every day you water it, protect it, and allow it to grow. You would never spend all day staring at weeds, complaining about them, and ignoring the tree. Yet this is exactly what many people do with their lives. They become obsessed with those who wrong them while neglecting their own growth. Choose instead to water your own future. Invest your energy in learning new skills, strengthening your body, expanding your knowledge, deepening your character, and surrounding yourself with people who genuinely appreciate your presence. As your life improves, the opinions of those who once disrespected you naturally lose their importance. There is another hidden strength in walking away. It teaches self-trust. Every time you choose your dignity over temporary comfort, you prove to yourself that your values are real. Each decision strengthens your confidence because you know you are no longer abandoning yourself just to keep someone else happy. Eventually, people begin to notice something different about you. They see that you do not chase approval. They recognize that you cannot be manipulated through guilt or empty promises. They understand that your kindness is genuine, but it is not weakness. They realize that while you are willing to forgive, you are no longer willing to repeatedly accept the same disrespect. That is the balance of true strength. You remain compassionate without becoming naive. You remain calm without becoming passive. You remain humble without allowing yourself to be diminished. Most importantly, you understand that the greatest form of revenge is not making someone suffer. It is building a life so peaceful, disciplined, and meaningful that you no longer need revenge at all. When your mind is focused on purpose instead of resentment, your energy becomes unstoppable. That is the quiet power of a person who has learned to walk away with dignity, protect their self-respect, and continue moving forward without looking back. People often believe that the ultimate form of power is making others fear them. They imagine that respect comes from intimidation, harsh words, or the ability to dominate every room they enter. They think that if people are afraid of them, they will never be ignored, challenged, or disrespected. But this belief hides a dangerous illusion. Fear can force temporary obedience, but it can never create genuine respect. The moment fear disappears, so does the influence built upon it. True influence is rooted in something far stronger: character. Character is what remains when no one is watching. It is revealed in the choices you make when there is nothing to gain and no applause to receive. It is the quiet commitment to honesty, discipline, patience, and integrity. Anyone can pretend to be powerful for a few moments, but only a person with strong character can remain steady through years of challenges, criticism, and uncertainty. This is why the people who leave the deepest impact on others are rarely the loudest. They are remembered because of who they consistently were, not because of how aggressively they demanded attention. When your character becomes your foundation, your presence changes in ways that cannot be imitated. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth in every conversation. You stop competing for validation because you already know your value. Your confidence becomes calm instead of noisy. You speak with intention instead of speaking simply to fill silence. You listen more carefully because you are not desperate to be heard. This quiet confidence often commands more respect than in endless displays of strength. Many people waste years trying to build an image rather than building themselves. They focus on appearing successful, appearing confident, or appearing important. But appearances are fragile. They require constant maintenance because they depend on other people's opinions. Character, however, grows from within. It does not depend on compliments, popularity, or recognition. It remains stable whether others praise you or criticize you. Think about the people you naturally respect. It is probably not because they frightened you. It is because they were consistent. They kept their promises. They treated people fairly. They remained calm under pressure. They accepted responsibility for their mistakes. They stood by their principles even when doing so was difficult. Their influence came from reliability, not intimidation. There is something powerful about a person whose words always match their actions. When such a person says they will do something, others believe them because they have earned trust over time. Trust is one of the greatest forms of influence a human being can possess. Without trust, relationships become unstable. Leadership becomes impossible. Even talent loses much of its value when people cannot rely on your character. Integrity also means refusing to compromise your values simply because doing so would be easier. Life will repeatedly offer opportunities to take shortcuts, to deceive, to seek revenge, or to abandon your principles when emotions become intense. In those moments, your character is being shaped. Every decision either strengthens your foundation or weakens it. This does not mean you must become perfect. No human being is free from mistakes. In fact, people often respect those who admit their failures more than those who pretend to have none. Humility is not weakness. It is the courage to recognize your imperfections while continuing to grow. A humble person remains teachable. They do not believe they know everything. They understand that wisdom is a lifelong pursuit. As your character develops, your priorities begin to change. You stop asking, how can I impress people? Instead, you ask, how can I become a better human being? This simple shift transforms every area of your life. Your relationships become healthier because they are built on honesty rather than manipulation. Your work improves because you focus on excellence rather than recognition. Your inner peace grows because your actions are aligned with your values. There will always be people who misunderstand you. Some may judge you unfairly. Others may dislike you without reason. If your identity depends on pleasing everyone, you will spend your life exhausted. Character frees you from that burden. It reminds you that your responsibility is not to control every opinion, but to remain faithful to your principles. This also changes how you respond to disrespect. Instead of reacting with anger, you respond with wisdom. Instead of seeking revenge, you protect your peace. Instead of lowering yourself to someone else's behavior, you remain grounded in your values. This does not mean accepting mistreatment. It means refusing to let another person's actions determine your own character. The strongest people are not those who win every argument. They are the ones who refuse to lose themselves in unnecessary conflict. They understand that preserving dignity is more important than proving a point. Sometimes the greatest victory is walking away with your integrity intact, while others remain trapped in negativity. Over time, people begin to notice this consistency. They see that you cannot be easily manipulated by praise or criticism. They realize that your decisions are guided by principles rather than emotions. They understand that your kindness is intentional, not weakness. They recognize that your silence is confidence, not fear. Without demanding respect, you naturally begin to receive it, because your life demonstrates qualities that others admire. Remember that influence is never measured by how many people fear you. It is measured by how many people trust your words, believe in your integrity, and feel inspired by your example. Fear may control behavior for a moment, but character shapes hearts for a lifetime. So do not make it your mission to become someone others are afraid of. Make it your mission to become someone whose honesty cannot be questioned, whose discipline cannot be shaken, whose peace cannot be stolen, and whose values cannot be bought. Build yourself so completely that your actions speak before your words ever need to. In the end, the greatest power you can possess is not the ability to intimidate others. It is the ability to remain true to yourself under every circumstance. That is the kind of strength that earns lasting respect, creates genuine influence, and leaves a legacy that no amount of fear could ever achieve.